The barren expanse stretched endlessly before Marcus and Thalix. Jagged crystal formations jutted from the rocky ground like the teeth of some great beast, and faint blue energy arcs crackled across the surface. The sector was treacherous, a place where even alien technology struggled to maintain function. Sensors often misread distances, communication signals faltered, and the terrain itself could collapse without warning. Yet Marcus felt a familiar thrill. This was a place where human ingenuity and courage could shine. "Keep your eyes open," Marcus whispered to Thalix, who moved beside him like a shadow. "This terrain doesn't forgive mistakes, but it also hides paths that no rigid system can see." Thalix's sharp eyes scanned the area. He had faced many dangers in his centuries, but the unpredictability of this sector made even him uneasy. "Why do humans thrive in chaos?" he muttered. Marcus smiled faintly. "We adapt. We improvise. Where others see danger, we see opportunity. That's why we're alive now, and why Siri might be alive too." They moved carefully across the uneven ground, stepping over jagged crystal shards and ducking under energy arcs that flashed unpredictably. Marcus held a small tracking device, not just a tool of technology but a guide, helping him locate the faint signals of the child's presence. Hours passed. The sun from Zephora, low on the horizon, cast long shadows that made navigation difficult. But Marcus noticed subtle signs of movement: disturbed sand, faint marks on the crystals, and tiny, deliberate scratches on rocks. Each clue confirmed they were heading in the right direction. Finally, they reached a narrow canyon. The walls were jagged, with sharp crystal spires pointing outward. Marcus crouched and scanned the area. "They've set up a checkpoint here," he said quietly. "The abductors think no one can pass without detection." "But we can." Thalix raised an eyebrow. "You plan to bypass it without combat?" Marcus nodded. "Sometimes the smartest fight is the one you don't fight. We'll use stealth, observation, and patience. That's human strength." The two moved slowly, using shadows and rocks for cover. Marcus observed the patterns of the mercenary patrols, noting how they changed positions and which paths were watched. "Here," he whispered, pointing to a gap in the patrol pattern. "We move in that moment." Thalix nodded, impressed despite himself. "Your planning is meticulous." "Necessity makes it meticulous," Marcus said, "and lives depend on it." They slipped past the patrols, moving silently through the canyon. Every step required balance, calculation, and courage. The human team, though smaller than the alien forces guarding the abductors, moved with precision. Marcus relied on intuition, noticing details no sensor could detect: the faint reflection of a watchful drone, the subtle shift of a mercenary's weight, the tiny vibration in the ground from approaching guards. Finally, they reached the outer edge of the canyon, where the abductors had set up a temporary camp. Crates of supplies, high-tech surveillance devices, and energy barriers surrounded the area. And there, inside a small containment pod, was Siri. She was frightened but unharmed, holding a small stuffed creature that glowed softly in the alien light. Marcus crouched behind a crystal spire, studying the guards' positions. "We can't rush in. Too many of them, too well prepared. We need a plan that uses our strengths: stealth, speed, and thinking ahead." Thalix observed silently, beginning to understand the humans' approach. Aliens relied on raw power and overwhelming force. Humans relied on strategy, on adaptability, on the courage to take risks where others would hesitate. Marcus embodied all of it. "Look at their patrol shifts," Marcus said, pointing. "Notice how they never cover the northwest corner at the same time. That's our entry point. I'll go in first," Thalix follows, and we extract Siri quietly. The two moved into position. Marcus counted to 3, then sprinted across the open space, using the rocks for cover. A mercenary drone detected movement, but Marcus anticipated it, tossing a small device that created a blinding flash, confusing the sensors just long enough to slip past. Thalix followed, his powerful frame moving silently for an alien of his size. They reached the containment pod. Siri's eyes widened as she saw Marcus. You're here to take me back?" she whispered. "Yes, Princess," Marcus said softly. "You're safe now. Hold my hand and stay close." The girl hesitated for a moment, then grasped his hand tightly. Marcus activated a small device on the pod, quickly disabling the lock. The door hissed open and Siri stepped out. "Good," Marcus whispered. "Now we move." The escape was far from simple. Alarms began to sound as other mercenaries noticed the intrusion. Energy barriers sparked and automated defenses activated. Marcus led the way, using every trick humans had developed: feints, distractions, and rapid, unpredictable movements. Thalix, following closely, used his strength to protect Marcus and Sari from minor obstacles, while still relying on the humans' guidance. At one point, a mercenary drone swooped down, firing a pulse that could have seriously injured them. Marcus leapt aside, grabbing a reflective shard from the canyon wall. He angled it just right, reflecting the pulse back toward the drone, disabling it. Thalix's eyes widened. "You improvise under pressure." "Remarkable." Marcus didn't answer. Focused, he guided Sari through a maze of crystals, avoiding patrols and drones. The terrain itself, dangerous as it was, became their ally. Narrow passages blocked larger mercenaries, and sharp crystal formations prevented pursuit from certain angles. Finally, after what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, they reached a high ridge overlooking the mercenary camp. Marcus paused, catching his breath. Below them, the camp was in chaos, guards confused and disorganized. He looked at Sari. "You did well," he said. "Now stay close. We're almost out of their territory." Thalix, panting, leaned against a rock. "Humans, you are unlike anything I imagined. Strength is not your only weapon." Marcus smiled faintly. "It's not the first time humans have surprised someone."
"It won't be the last." They began the descent from the ridge, carefully making their way across jagged terrain toward the outer sector, where their ship waited.
The mercenaries, still reeling from the unexpected extraction, scrambled to regain order. But Marcus and Thalix moved too quickly, too wisely, and soon the alien terrain itself shielded them from pursuit. Sari, once fearful, now held on to Marcus with a newfound trust. "I knew someone would come," she said softly. "I just didn't know who." "You're safe now," Marcus said, smiling. "And we're getting you home." Back on Zephora, the Queen monitored the situation through her sensors. The sudden disappearance of the abductors' camp was unexpected. She had not believed humans could succeed where her warriors might fail. Yet the readings clearly showed a human-led team moving strategically and successfully. A spark of hope ignited within her heart. Marcus guided his team through the final stretch of dangerous terrain. Energy arcs flickered around them. Jagged rocks threatened to trip them, and unstable crystal formations loomed overhead. But human ingenuity shone. Marcus used a combination of agility, careful observation, and quick improvisation to navigate these obstacles. Thalix, initially skeptical, now fully trusted the humans' instincts. At last, they reached the edge of the asteroid field, where their ship hovered silently, waiting. Marcus activated a beacon to signal their presence, and the ship descended. The final challenge remained: getting Sari aboard without alerting any remaining mercenaries. Using shadows and speed, Marcus led the team onto the ship. Sari climbed the ramp carefully, then turned to look at the alien terrain one last time. "Will they come after us?" she asked. Marcus shook his head. "Not if we move fast enough, and humans have a way of staying ahead of danger." Thalix, watching the human in action, felt a deep respect forming. The human mind, he realized, was a force unlike any alien strength he had ever encountered. Intelligence, courage, and adaptability could outmatch technology, power, and tradition when used correctly. As the ship rose into the sky, leaving the dangerous sector behind, Marcus allowed himself a small moment of satisfaction. The first stage of the rescue had succeeded. Sari was safe, at least for now. The child who had disappeared into the unknown was now in human hands, and the Queen's hope, fragile as it had been, was returning. The stars above Zephora glittered like a promise. Marcus knew the journey was far from over. The abductors would not give up easily, and the path home was still fraught with danger. But for the first time, there was a real chance. The human-led rescue had shown what humans could do when courage, intellect, and determination were combined. As the ship soared through the alien sky, Marcus glanced at Sari. She was exhausted but smiling faintly. "We're going to get you back," he said softly. "No one will take you from your home again." And somewhere deep within the royal palace, Queen Lysara's heart stirred with hope. The human, once dismissed as weak and fragile, was proving to be the key to her daughter's safe return. The rescue mission had entered the heart of danger, and humanity's resolve was shining brighter than anyone had imagined. The forest outside Zephora's capital stretched endlessly, filled with strange luminous plants and towering trees that glowed faintly in the twilight. The air was thick with mist and the scent of alien flowers. a beauty that would have distracted most explorers. But for Captain Marcus Kane, there was no time for wonder. Every sound, every movement could be a clue or a danger. Beside him, Commander Thalix moved with silent precision. The alien was tall and muscular, his scales shimmering faintly in the low light. Though he still doubted human abilities, he could not ignore the fact that Marcus had already uncovered a clue that his elite squad had missed. "This way," Marcus whispered, crouching near a set of broken branches. "Notice how these are bent? Someone or something was here recently. The pattern isn't random. Whoever took the child was careful but not perfect." Thalix frowned, examining the ground. "It is subtle. But humans, you notice such things?" Marcus smiled faintly. "We have to. Sometimes, subtlety is all you have." The kidnapper likely thought they were smart, leaving no obvious trail. But there is always something overlooked even by the most careful. The forest seemed alive, and perhaps it was. Strange creatures flitted between the glowing plants, and occasional sounds of distant movement made even Thalix tense. Marcus remained calm, scanning the surroundings with sharp eyes. He pointed to faint footprints nearly invisible in the soft moss. "These are fresh," he said, "and they lead deeper into the forest." Thalix nodded slowly. "We should proceed. But beware. Sci-Fi's forests are known to be dangerous to those untrained." "I've faced worse," Marcus said simply. He did not exaggerate. In his travels, he had encountered hostile alien species, treacherous terrain, and traps designed to kill. Yet the human mind, he had learned, was as powerful a weapon as any. Adaptability, courage, and quick thinking often won where brute force failed. They moved carefully, every step deliberate. Marcus noticed the faint sound of running water nearby, likely a river or stream, which could both hinder and help their search. Using the moss patterns and broken branches, he tracked the path through dense undergrowth, careful not to disturb anything that could erase their trail. Hours passed. The alien sun moved across the sky, casting long shadows through the glowing foliage. Marcus and Thalix finally stopped at a small clearing. Here, the forest seemed quieter, almost too quiet. Marcus crouched and examined the area. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a faint shimmer near a rock. It was a fragment of crystal, similar to the one found inside the palace. The kidnapper must have dropped it. This confirms the trail is fresh. "We're getting close." Thalix's eyes narrowed. "You speak as though humans can track better than Sci-Fi's most trained warriors." Marcus shrugged. "It's not just about tracking. It's about thinking ahead, understanding motives, predicting mistakes. Aliens rely heavily on technology. Humans rely on observation and reasoning." Thalix remained silent, though inwardly he began to appreciate Marcus's methods. Slowly, the alien warrior began to accept that the human might truly offer a chance where all else had failed. As they moved deeper into the forest, Marcus noticed subtle signs of struggle: broken twigs bent downward, faint marks on tree trunks, and patches where the moss had been flattened. "Someone carried a small weight through here," he said. "Not very heavy, but deliberate." "That has to be Sari. She wouldn't have been able to leave this path herself." Thalix glanced at him, impressed. "You can deduce this from such small signs?" Marcus nodded. "It's not about size, strength, or technology. It's about thinking like the person you're looking for, understanding how they might move, what they might leave behind. You can teach this, but it's not common among your kind." The forest opened into a narrow valley. Mist rolled along the ground, obscuring visibility. Marcus signaled for caution. Using the skills humans had honed over centuries, tracking, intuition, and adaptability, they moved quietly. Suddenly Marcus froze. "Wait," he whispered. He pointed to faint musical notes carried by the wind. A soft, lilting tune, the kind children often hummed or played on small instruments. Marcus listened carefully. Thalix tilted his head. "A child's song? Impossible to track at this distance." "Not impossible," Marcus said. "We know Siri. We know she often plays this tune. That means she is close." The alien's jaw tightened. He had never thought a human could use sound in this way, relying on memory and intuition rather than instruments or scanners. Yet Marcus had done it. Slowly they followed the melody, careful to stay hidden, avoiding predators and the natural traps of the valley. Hours later they came to a small clearing. The ground was littered with debris, signs of a struggle and remnants of alien technology unfamiliar to Sci-Fi. Marcus crouched, examining the evidence. "This is a temporary camp," he said. "The kidnapper didn't plan to stay long. They're moving, but Sari is here, and she may have left clues to where they went next. Thalix studied the site, still skeptical but beginning to trust Marcus's judgment. "You can deduce the next move?" Marcus nodded. "Yes. Notice the tracks lead towards a ridge and then beyond the forest. They are heading to the outer sectors, possibly an asteroid field nearby. Humans are familiar with navigating such terrain. If we prepare carefully, we can follow them and rescue Sari before they leave Zephora entirely." The queen, far away in her palace, continued to watch the skies. Sensors indicated Marcus's movements, and hope stirred within her heart. The humans, once dismissed, were showing abilities beyond her expectations. She allowed herself a rare smile, though her heart remained heavy with worry for her daughter. Night fell again, and the forest changed. Shadows grew longer, and strange noises echoed in the mist. Marcus set up a small observation point. He had learned long ago that rushing into danger without understanding it was often fatal. He and Thalix watched the camp from a distance, noting patrol patterns and weak points in the kidnappers' setup. "Tomorrow we move," Marcus said quietly. "We wait for the right moment, strike when they are vulnerable, and bring Siri back." Thalix nodded. Though he was trained to act on orders, he realized that Marcus's patience and careful planning were something the aliens rarely employed. The human mind, he thought, was a weapon in itself. The night passed slowly. Marcus barely slept, his thoughts filled with strategies, possibilities, and contingencies. He reviewed every detail of the trail, every subtle clue left behind. Human training had taught him to expect the unexpected, to anticipate the mistakes of others, and he knew the child's abductors had made mistakes, small but telling. Dawn broke over the forest, painting the trees in warm, golden light. Marcus signaled to Thalix, and they moved out carefully, following the trail again. The child's cries, soft and fearful, could occasionally be heard in the distance. Marcus's heart tightened. Every second mattered. The team moved across uneven terrain, over streams and rocky slopes, navigating challenges that would have slowed or stopped most explorers. Marcus's leadership kept the group focused, calm, and alert. Thalix, usually stoic, found himself relying on Marcus's insight more than his own instincts. At midday, they reached the edge of the forest. Beyond lay a dangerous sector, a rocky, barren expanse filled with strange crystalline formations and active energy fields. It was a place where alien technology could fail, a place humans had learned to navigate through skill and improvisation. "This is it," Marcus said, "the next stage. Beyond here, the abductors think their knowledge gives them an advantage, but humans can think differently. They can see paths others do not. We follow Siri, and we don't stop until she is safe." Thalix glanced at him. "Your confidence? It is remarkable. Perhaps humans are not as weak as we thought." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "We're not weak. We just do things differently, and sometimes that difference can save a life." As they prepared to cross the dangerous terrain, the first real sense of hope began to grow. The Queen's child was still alive. Marcus and Thalix, working together, were close to finding her, and the impossible task of rescuing the child from the abductors was beginning to feel achievable. Unknown to them, the kidnappers had already sensed that someone was tracking them. They had tightened their security and increased patrols, believing that no human or alien could possibly follow them through such treacherous terrain. But Marcus, relying on intelligence, intuition, and courage, was already anticipating their moves, planning each step carefully. The sun set behind the distant ridges, casting long shadows over the barren land. Marcus, Thalix, and their team paused to survey the path ahead. The abductors were near, Siri was within reach, and the rescue mission, the one that could restore hope to a grieving queen, was about to begin in earnest, and so, with determination burning in his eyes, Marcus led the way forward, proving that humans, though underestimated, could achieve the extraordinary. In his mind, failure was not an option. Siri's safety depended on him, and the Queen's hope depended on success. The journey into the unknown had begun, and with every step, the humans' resolve grew stronger. On the distant planet of Zephora, the skies glowed in soft hues of blue and purple, streaked with clouds of shimmering gas. The planet was known across the galaxy for its beauty and its intelligent inhabitants. Towering crystalline structures rose from the ground like glass trees, reflecting sunlight in millions of colors. Yet behind this peaceful beauty, the palace of the alien Queen Lysara was filled with a deep, Unshakable sorrow. Queen Lysara sat alone in the royal hall, her tall frame bent slightly, eyes fixed on the empty cradle at the center of the room. Her only child, Princess Sari, had vanished without a trace 3 days ago. The palace guards had searched every corner of the city, from the gleaming streets to the deepest forests, but no clue had been found. Even their advanced alien technology had failed to locate the young princess. The queen's advisors whispered among themselves, their faces grim. "Your Majesty," one said cautiously, "we fear the worst. Perhaps she has been taken by the interdimensional raiders." "The raiders?" Lysara asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Her fingers clenched tightly. They have never dared approach the royal palace before. How could they? Perhaps this time they were clever, another advisor said. Or perhaps someone within the palace helped them. The words stung like venom. Lysara refused to believe her own people could betray her, yet the fear in her heart was real. Her child, her only child, was gone. She had ruled Zephora for centuries, guided her people with wisdom and strength, and faced countless enemies. But this, losing her own child, was a pain she had never imagined. In her private chamber, Lysara traced the faint handprints on the wall that Sari had left the day before she disappeared. She remembered the little girl's laughter, bright and pure, echoing through the palace halls. Sari had been full of curiosity and courage, always asking questions about the universe, always exploring the gardens and libraries. And now she was gone. Beyond the palace, the city carried on in a tense, uneasy calm. Citizens whispered about the queen's sorrow, but none dared speak openly. The alien guards had doubled their patrols, scanning the forests and city outskirts for any sign of the missing princess. But no trace appeared. It was as if the child had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, in the space near Zephora, a fleet of human ships arrived for trade negotiations. Humans were often underestimated by other alien species. Physically weaker than most, with technology not as advanced as some galactic empires, they were seen as simple merchants and diplomats. But the humans had something the aliens rarely understood: cunning, courage, and resourcefulness. Among the human crew was Captain Marcus Kane, a tall, broad-shouldered man with dark hair and sharp, alert eyes. Marcus was not just a captain. He was a problem solver, a strategist, someone who had faced danger countless times and emerged victorious. While the humans' mission was peaceful, Marcus had a reputation for taking risks others would avoid. As Marcus's ship approached Zephora, sensors picked up unusual activity in the palace. Guards moving frantically, a flurry of communications and energy signatures that suggested something had gone wrong. Curious, Marcus requested permission from the human ambassador to investigate. He was guided to the palace gates, where he first met Commander Thalix, the Queen's most trusted guard. Thalix was tall and imposing, with scales that shimmered in the light and eyes that missed nothing. "Humans," he said with a mixture of skepticism and disdain. "Do you understand the dangers here?" "You cannot help," Marcus smiled politely. "I understand the risks. But sometimes it's the unexpected who can find what others cannot." Thalix's expression remained unchanged. "Unexpected? Humans are weak. Your skills are no match for interdimensional raiders." "I guess we'll see," Marcus said quietly, his voice steady. Inside the palace, Lysara sat with her head in her hands. When Marcus was brought before her, escorted by Thalix, she looked at him with tired, weary eyes. Humans had never impressed her. They were small, fragile creatures compared to her people. Yet there was a calmness in Marcus that caught her attention. "I am Captain Marcus Kane," he said, bowing slightly. "I have experience in rescue missions in situations where others have failed. I wish to help find your daughter, Princess Sari." Lysara studied him carefully. "Why should I trust a human? My people have searched with all their technology, and still my child is gone. What makes you think you can succeed?" Marcus met her gaze. "Because sometimes what is missed by technology can be found by observation, intuition, and determination. I can look where others have not looked. I can notice what others have overlooked." The Queen's silence was heavy. She had lived for centuries, seen countless creatures claim they could help only to fail. But something about Marcus, the way he carried himself, the quiet confidence, made her pause. "Very well," she said at last. "You may try. But know this, if you fail, my people will not forget. And neither will I." Marcus nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He had no illusions. This was not just a missing child. It was a matter of life and death, of interdimensional threats and of alien trust. But he also knew humans had something the aliens often lacked: the ability to act unpredictably, to think outside the rigid lines of logic and tradition. The first step was to study the palace and surrounding areas. Marcus moved through the gardens, the libraries, and the corridors where Sari was last seen. He asked questions, observed patterns, and noticed subtle details that alien guards had ignored. A leaf crushed in a peculiar way, the faint scent of a foreign material, and small scratches on the palace floor. Days passed, and Marcus worked tirelessly, following every lead, however small. Thalix, who had accompanied him reluctantly, began to notice something strange. Marcus did not rely solely on technology. He watched, listened, and thought. He predicted movement and danger in ways Thalix had never seen before. Slowly, Thalix's skepticism began to soften, replaced by a growing respect. In a secluded part of the palace garden, Marcus found the first real clue: a fragment of a small, shimmering crystal, an alien device unlike any he had seen, yet familiar from reports of interdimensional raiders. It had been dropped, likely during Siri's abduction. "This is it," Marcus said quietly, holding the piece. "We are not looking for the wrong people. Someone took her intentionally, and they know how to avoid detection. But even the cleverest plan leaves traces. We follow the traces and we find her." Thalix studied the fragment, still skeptical but intrigued. "And you believe a human can follow this trail better than my entire elite squad?" Marcus nodded. "I don't just follow the trail. I think about why it was left, where they want to take her, and how she might escape on her own. Children are clever, more than you think." The queen, observing from the palace balcony, felt a flicker of hope. She had lost faith in technology, in guards, in plans. But perhaps this human, so fragile and yet so determined, could succeed where all else had failed. Night fell over Zephora, painting the sky with deep purples and scattered starlight. Marcus, Thalix, and a small team of humans and willing alien assistants prepared for the next stage of the search. The trail was taking them outside the city, into forests, and eventually to unknown regions beyond Zephora's borders. Lysara could not sleep. She stood at her balcony, gazing at the stars, imagining her daughter somewhere, frightened and alone. She whispered softly, "Hold on, my little one. Someone will bring you back. I have to believe it." Marcus, meanwhile, reviewed the clues once more. Every sign pointed to an intelligent kidnapper who understood alien technology, but did not anticipate human ingenuity. He smiled faintly. Humans had a way of turning disadvantage into advantage. Where the aliens saw impossible odds, he saw opportunity. The first step had been taken, and it was small but crucial. The search had begun in earnest. And though Queen Lysara did not know it yet, hope had returned to her heart, carried on the shoulders of a human she had once dismissed as weak. As the night deepened, Marcus and Thalix moved silently through the palace corridors, preparing to leave Zephora for the first clues outside the city. The stars above shimmered like diamonds, and the wind whispered through the crystalline structures, as if encouraging them forward. In the shadows, the faintest sound of a child's laughter echoed, perhaps a memory, perhaps a sign. Marcus's jaw tightened. He could not see her yet, but he could sense her. And that was enough. The story of the human who would challenge the might of Zephora's greatest warriors, the story of the child who had vanished into the unknown, and the queen who had lost hope but would soon see the impossible come true, was just beginning. And in that quiet night, the first spark of hope flickered, small but unyielding, promising that the next dawn would bring answers, courage, and a journey that would change the fate of two worlds forever. The palace was alive with celebration. Lights glimmered on the crystal towers, music floated through the air, and the citizens of Zephora gathered to welcome their princess home. Queen Lysara, holding her daughter Sari close, moved through the crowd with a glow of relief and pride. Marcus Kane, the human who had accomplished what so many believed impossible, walked silently beside Thalix, observing the joy he had helped create. Though the mission was complete, Marcus remained vigilant. Danger might have passed for now, but the galaxy was unpredictable. Yet for the first time he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The child was safe, the queen's faith restored, and humanity had earned respect in a way no words could fully express. Ciri clung to Marcus as they moved through the palace gardens. "Thank you for bringing me back," she whispered. "I was so scared." Marcus knelt to meet her gaze. "You were brave, Ciri. Fear is natural, but courage is acting even when you're afraid. You've shown that today." Her small smile warmed his heart. "Will I ever see you again?" Marcus patted her head gently. "If you need help, I'll come." "That's a promise." Thalix watched the interaction silently, his alien mind trying to grasp the human way. Humans, he realized, did not need immense strength or advanced technology to be remarkable. Courage, reasoning, and determination could overcome the impossible. The human beside him embodied all of it. Queen Lysara approached, her expression solemn yet filled with gratitude. "Marcus Kane," she said, "you have restored what I thought was lost forever. You risked your life for my child and for my people. Humans are not what we believed. You have shown us hope, intelligence, and bravery beyond measure." Marcus shook his head slightly. "Your Majesty, it was my duty. Every life matters, and a child's safety matters most of all. I could not ignore someone in need." The Queen's eyes softened. "Your actions will be remembered, human, not as a mere act of bravery, but as a symbol of what humanity can achieve." The palace erupted in celebration. Citizens and soldiers alike spoke of the human who had outwitted alien mercenaries, navigated dangerous terrain, and restored hope to the Queen. Songs would be sung of his courage. Stories would pass down through generations. Marcus, however, remained humble. He knew the rescue had been a team effort. Thalix had been invaluable, and the Queen's own people had supported their safe return. Yet he also understood that humanity's ingenuity and determination had been the key. Days passed as the palace returned to normal. Ciri played freely, no longer afraid of the shadows that had haunted her during captivity. Queen Lysara spent every moment with her daughter, her eyes still moist with gratitude for Marcus's intervention. Marcus used this time to learn more about Zyphora's culture and technology, impressed by the intelligence and achievements of the alien civilization. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the crystal spires, Marcus stood with Thalix on a balcony overlooking the capital. The wind carried the soft scent of alien flowers, and the city below glowed with life. "You humans," Thalix said quietly. "You are unlike any species I have encountered. You rely on courage, reasoning, and adaptability. You take risks others would not consider, and you succeed where we fail." Marcus smiled faintly. "It's not just about bravery. It's about believing in what's possible, even when others doubt. That's what humans do. We find hope where others see none." Thalix studied him, realizing the truth in his words. "Perhaps we have underestimated your kind for too long." Marcus looked down at the city, thinking of the countless lives touched by the rescue. Hope is powerful. It drives people to do things they never thought they could. Today we've seen that power. The next day, the Queen summoned Marcus to the palace council chamber. Advisors and officials gathered, eager to express gratitude and learn from the human who had accomplished the impossible. Marcus explained his methods carefully: observation, planning, adaptability, and courage. The officials listened intently, fascinated by the approach of a species so different from their own. "The human's success shows that strength is not always physical," one advisor remarked. "Wisdom, insight, and courage can achieve what brute force cannot." Queen Lysara nodded. "Marcus Kane has changed our understanding of the universe. He has shown that humans, despite their differences, possess qualities that can inspire hope and bring salvation." Marcus felt a warmth in his chest. Recognition was not his goal, but respect was a rare and meaningful reward. The Queen, seeing his humility, smiled. "You have earned your place in Zyphora's history. Your actions have saved lives and reminded us all that hope should never be abandoned." Outside, Ciri ran through the palace gardens, laughter ringing through the air. Marcus watched her, seeing not just a child restored to safety, but a future filled with possibility. Every step she took was a symbol of hope, resilience, and courage. Thalix joined him, his expression thoughtful. "Humans are remarkable. Perhaps your species will continue to shape the galaxy in ways we cannot yet imagine." Marcus nodded. "Humans are capable of much if given the chance. Sometimes all it takes is one decision, one act of courage to change everything." As the sun set over Zyphora, Marcus reflected on the journey, from the forest trail to the treacherous asteroid sector, from evading mercenaries to navigating palace defenses. Every challenge had been met with determination, intelligence, and courage. Humans had proven that they could rise above fear, overcome the impossible, and restore hope where it had been lost. The Queen approached once more, standing beside him on the balcony. "Your actions have shown us the value of trust, courage, and humanity," she said softly. "You have proven that even in the darkest moments there is light. I will never forget what you have done for my child, my people, and our hope for the future." Marcus bowed respectfully. "I am honored, Your Majesty. The real reward is knowing that Ciri is safe, and that hope has returned to your people." For the first time since the rescue began, Marcus allowed himself to relax completely. The child was safe, the Queen's faith restored, and humanity's potential recognized. He had not only completed a mission but had left a lasting mark on a world that had once doubted him. Ciri ran up to him, holding a small bouquet of glowing flowers she had picked from the palace gardens. "For you," she said shyly, her innocence shining through. "For saving me." Marcus accepted the flowers with a smile. "Thank you, Ciri. I will treasure them." Thalix watched the exchange, a rare smile forming on his face. "Humans," he said quietly. "Sometimes their greatest weapon is not strength, but the courage to act when all seems lost." That night, as the twin moons bathed Zephora in silver light, Marcus stood on the balcony once more, looking at the city below. The stars seemed brighter, as if celebrating the bravery and determination that had restored hope to a desperate queen and her child. Queen Lysara approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Marcus Kane, you have not only saved my daughter, but you have also reminded us all that hope is never lost when courage leads the way. Your actions will be remembered for generations." Marcus nodded humbly. "I only did what anyone should do. But perhaps it shows what humans are capable of if we dare to try." The Queen smiled, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and admiration in her eyes. "Indeed, human. Today you have changed not just one life, but the fate of many." And so peace returned to Zephora. Ciri was safe in the arms of her mother, the Queen's faith restored, and humanity's courage recognized across the stars. Marcus Kane, the human who had dared to enter the unknown, who had navigated danger, outwitted mercenaries, and restored hope, had proven that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome any obstacle. The story of the human who brought back a lost child spread across the galaxy, a tale of bravery and hope that inspired countless worlds. And somewhere in the crystal spires of Zephora, a small girl smiled at the human who had saved her, knowing that even in the darkest times, hope could always be found. Marcus looked once more at the stars, thinking of the journey behind him and the challenges ahead. Humanity had shown its strength, not in weapons or technology, but in courage, reasoning, and determination. And in that moment he knew that no matter what the galaxy might bring, humans could rise, adapt, and achieve the impossible. Ciri waved to him from the garden below. Marcus returned the wave, a quiet promise in his heart. Wherever hope was lost, he would help restore it. The stars above Zephora glittered like witnesses to the extraordinary deeds of a single human who had dared to act, and in doing so had changed the fate of an alien world forever. The ship glided silently through Zephora's upper atmosphere, leaving the dangerous asteroid sector behind. Yet Marcus knew the mission was far from over. The abductors were clever and ruthless. They would not let their prize go without a fight. Ciri, though safe aboard the ship for the moment, remained tense. Her small hands clutched the railing as she watched the stars streak past. "You're doing great, Ciri," Marcus said softly, glancing at her. "We're almost home." She nodded, her eyes wide and cautious. "I want to see my mother," she whispered. Marcus smiled. "Soon, just a little further." Behind them, Thalix monitored the ship's sensors. "The abductors may track us," he warned. "We cannot relax yet." Marcus leaned over the console, scanning for any signs of pursuit. "Let them try. We've outsmarted them so far. That's human strength." The crew held their positions, tense and alert. Even the smallest mistake could alert the mercenaries to their exact location. But Marcus had planned carefully. Using the ship's stealth capabilities and his knowledge of alien detection methods, he adjusted their course through a series of hidden gravity pockets and asteroid shadows. Hours passed as the ship moved closer to Zephora. Marcus and Thalix reviewed the mission again. "We must approach the palace carefully," Marcus said. "Even though the child is safe, we cannot risk an ambush." Thalix nodded. "Your strategy has saved her so far. I trust your judgment." Meanwhile, Siri began to relax, feeling the courage radiating from Marcus. "You're not like anyone else," she said quietly. "You didn't just follow me. You thought, planned, and saved me." Marcus crouched to meet her gaze. "I had help, Siri. And I had courage too, but sometimes courage is just trying when everything seems impossible." Her small smile brightened the ship's cabin. In that moment, the human's bravery was not only saving her life but restoring her faith in the galaxy. Suddenly, an alert flashed across the control panel. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "We're being followed," he said. "Mercenaries, fast ships, likely scouts from the sector we just left." Thalix read the sensor data quickly. "They are fast but predictable. They will try to intercept, thinking they can corner us in open space." Marcus's mind raced. "We won't meet them head-on. Thalix, take control of the defensive systems. I'll handle maneuvering." The ship twisted and dove through the asteroid remnants, narrowly avoiding collisions. Energy pulses fired by the mercenaries struck harmlessly against Marcus's evasive maneuvers. Thanks to his quick calculations and intimate knowledge of the ship's limits. Human ingenuity, Thalix muttered under his breath. "It works. Remarkably." Marcus ignored the praise, focusing entirely on the task. "Siri, stay low and hold on," he instructed. "This will get bumpy." The small human pilot and alien commander duo worked seamlessly. Marcus anticipated each mercenary move, predicting their attacks and adjusting their trajectory before the enemy could react. Thalix used the ship's weapon systems to disable drones without causing harm, his loyalty to Marcus growing with every calculated move. After several tense maneuvers, the pursuing ships gave up, their sensors unable to penetrate the clever human tactics. Marcus exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. "We lost them for now. But we must move quickly. Sephora is close and the child needs her mother." As they neared the planet, the landscape came into view. The crystal towers of the capital glimmered in the late afternoon sun, a beautiful yet imposing sight. Marcus allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. He had led the child through perilous terrain, evaded mercenaries, and kept her safe. But the final stage remained, landing safely, navigating palace defenses, and returning Siri to her mother. Thalix pointed to a patrol drone scanning the city. "We must land carefully. Their alert systems are still active." Marcus nodded. "We'll use stealth approach. Follow my lead." The ship descended slowly, hugging the shadows of towering crystal spires. Marcus used the ship's cloaking systems, timing movements to avoid detection by drones and sensors. Every second mattered. One mistake could alert the palace or the mercenaries still in pursuit. Siri held Marcus's hand tightly. "I can see home," she whispered. Her voice trembled with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Yes, Princess," Marcus said. "We're almost there. One more careful step." The ship landed softly in a concealed courtyard near the palace. Marcus quickly guided Siri off the ramp, keeping her low and hidden. Thalix followed, ensuring no patrols were nearby. The child's eyes widened as she saw familiar walls and gardens, a sense of safety flooding over her. But their mission was not complete. The abductors had anticipated a direct return. A final ambush awaited near the palace gates, designed to recapture the child at the last moment. Marcus sensed it immediately. "They've set a trap," he whispered. "Stay close and follow my lead." Ahead, 2 mercenary scouts emerged from the shadows, weapons drawn. Marcus acted instantly, using a combination of speed and tactical thinking. He grabbed a small reflective shard from the ground and angled it toward the first mercenary's energy weapon, reflecting the pulse harmlessly into the ground. Thalix moved with incredible speed, blocking the second mercenary with his massive frame while disarming him. Siri gasped, but remained calm, trusting Marcus completely. "I knew you could do it," she whispered. "Almost there," Marcus said. "Keep moving." They dashed toward the palace entrance, weaving through gardens and corridors, using every shadow and obstacle for cover. Marcus led them to the central hall where the queen waited. Her eyes wide with disbelief and hope locked onto her daughter. "Siri," Lysera cried, running forward. The queen scooped the child into her arms, holding her tightly. Tears flowed freely, unrestrained. "I feared I would never see you again." Siri hugged her mother tightly. "I knew someone would find me, Mother," she whispered. Marcus stepped back, watching the reunion quietly. Thalix joined him, his expression softening as he saw the profound bond between mother and child. "You did it," Thalix said, awe in his voice. Marcus shook his head slightly. "We did it. Humans helped, yes, but it was teamwork. And courage." And hope? The queen turned toward Marcus, eyes glistening with tears. I do not know how to thank you, she said. My child, my only child, you have brought her back to me. You risked everything, human. Marcus bowed respectfully. No thanks needed, your majesty. Ciri is safe, and that is enough. The queen studied him carefully, realizing that her long-held assumptions about humans had been wrong. They were not weak. They were brave, clever, and capable of acts that even the most advanced alien could not predict. In the following hours, Marcus and his team shared the story of the rescue, explaining how strategy, observation, and quick thinking had overcome the abductors' advanced technology and defenses. The palace guards listened, astonished. Even the queen's advisors admitted that humans possessed a form of intelligence and courage they had never fully understood. Ciri, finally safe, smiled up at Marcus. Thank you, she said simply. Her words, innocent and heartfelt, carried more weight than any medal or reward. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. You're welcome, princess. And remember, bravery comes in many forms. Sometimes it's facing danger. Sometimes it's trusting someone to help you when you're scared. The queen approached Marcus, placing a hand on his shoulder. You have shown me that humans are not what I thought. You have shown us hope, courage, and wisdom beyond measure. You have earned my deepest respect. Marcus nodded. I am honored, your majesty. But the real credit belongs to Ciri, who stayed brave even in fear. Courage is never just one person's. It spreads, inspires, and strengthens everyone. The palace erupted in celebration. The missing princess was home, the abductors defeated, and a bridge between humans and aliens had been strengthened in a way no one could have imagined. That night, as Zyphora's skies glowed with soft purples and blues, Marcus stood with Thalix on a balcony overlooking the city. The wind carried the soft laughter of Ciri playing safely with palace attendants, a sound that filled both human and alien hearts with relief. You humans, Thalix said softly. You never cease to amaze me. You rely on thought, courage, and adaptability, and it changes outcomes where strength alone fails. Marcus chuckled lightly. Sometimes that's all it takes. Seeing hope where others have lost it, believing in what others doubt, humans have a way of making the impossible possible. Thalix nodded. Perhaps your species is truly special. Marcus looked out at the glowing horizon, thinking of the journey that had begun with a single human stepping into an alien world. Special or not, he said quietly. Sometimes all it takes is a decision to act, to try and never give up. That's what brings hope back, even to those who had lost it entirely. Queen Lysara watched from afar, her heart full. Her child was safe, the impossible had been achieved, and a human, a being she once underestimated, had restored her hope. She knew this bond, this trust, would forever change the relationship between her people and humanity. The stars above Zyphora sparkled as if acknowledging the courage, intelligence, and determination of a single human who dared to venture where others had failed. Marcus had proven that humans could rise above fear, challenge the impossible, and bring light to the darkest moments. And so the rescue was complete. Yet the story was far from over. The bond forged in danger, the trust built in fear, and the respect earned through courage would shape the future. Between